A historical kingdom is a massive mechanical engine. Its sole purpose is to process raw inputs like grain, taxes, and labor, and convert them into outputs, walls, roads, and military force. The longevity of Karnataka's historical polities was tied to the iterative re-engineering of their administrative logic to meet shifting geopolitical pressures. When the external environment changed, the state had to rewrite its internal code or collapse. We are going to reverse engineer 3 distinct versions of this state machinery across history to see exactly how they solved the problem of survival. First, the militarized bureaucracy of the Vijayanagara Empire. Second, the quantified agrarian grid of the Keladi kingdom. And finally, the industrial technocracy of modern Mysore. These 3 models demonstrate our central premise, that the history of governance is, at its core, a history of systems architecture. Our first system is the Vijayanagara Empire. Surrounded by hostile sultanates to the north, its primary directive was mass defense. To maintain its borders, it had to scale up an enormous, centralized military apparatus. Look at the administrative records. The prime minister, the Mahapradhana, also held the title of military commander. This fusion allowed them to manage a massive dual-tier force, a standing army and a decentralized feudal army. Foreign travelers reported troop numbers reaching 11 lakh men. A system designed purely for massive feudal aggregation has a fatal flaw. At the Battle of Talikota in 1565, sheer volume and wealth collided directly with highly specialized integrated military technology. The historical text reveals a severe logistical asymmetry. Vijayanagara's cavalry rode weak country horses. The opposing sultanates fielded robust Persian horses and metal crossbows. Furthermore, the sultanates employed efficient Turkestan gunners. Vijayanagara outsourced this to outdated European mercenaries, resulting in a complete failure of coordination. The result was the total physical collapse of the capital city. A state engineered to aggregate 1 million men through feudal ties could not adapt its supply chains to acquire superior horses or train specialized artillerymen. The hardware failed because the operating system couldn't handle the update. After the fall of Vijayanagara, the geopolitical reality fragmented. The successor states that emerged no longer had the luxury of a vast continent-spanning empire to fund their armies. They needed a more efficient way to extract resources from a much smaller territory. Enter Shiva Papa Nayaka of the Keladi kingdom. He recognized that survival required replacing feudal guesswork with a mathematically precise, data-driven agrarian economy. He developed a revenue settlement known as the Sist. Instead of demanding an arbitrary tribute, his administrators conducted a highly controlled experimental yield assessment over 12 years, factoring in both the highest and lowest crop outputs across seasons. They built this system on a precise metric called the kandaga, the exact seed volume a plot could sustain. Cross-referencing this capacity against 5 categories of soil fertility, the Keladi state could accurately project and collect exactly 1/3 of the gross produce. By transforming raw earth into measurable data, the central government insulated itself from localized crop failures and corrupt local lords. They engineered stability through accounting. Move forward to the early 20th century. Global markets are modernizing, and a purely agrarian revenue algorithm is no longer enough to guarantee a state's economic sovereignty. The state had to actively build an industrial superstructure. The architect of this pivot was M. Visvesvaraya. He recognized that to survive in a modern economy, the state had to manufacture its own growth. His governing philosophy was outlined in foundational texts with titles like A Planned Economy for India. His core directives to the administration were stark: plan or perish, and industrialize or perish. He executed this plan through a rapid, compressed institutional build-out. The state directly funded the Bhadarwadi Ironworks, created Mysore University to generate a technical workforce, and set up a chamber of commerce to organize trade, all within a span of just a few years. To power this industrialization, the state engineered massive public works. Projects like the Krishna Raja Sagara Dam were built to guarantee the energy and water capacity required for heavy manufacturing, directly linking public infrastructure to industrial output. Under this model, the state functioned as the primary architect of its own industrial superstructure, actively building its own economic capacity rather than simply taxing existing agricultural output. From the military command structure of Vijayanagara, to the agrarian data grid of Keladi, to the industrial blueprint of modern Mysore, the historical arc of the Deccan Plateau reveals a clear evolutionary trajectory. To survive, the state had to become increasingly centralized, strictly data-dependent, and heavily integrated with new technology. Modern governments today wrestle with the exact same structural challenges. They are still trying to figure out how to allocate resources efficiently and insulate themselves from systemic vulnerabilities. A state is never a finished product. Its survival relies on its capacity to audit its own weaknesses, re-engineer its internal logic, and push the next critical upgrade.